Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for the opportunity to present the latest report of the Secretary General on Colombia and to update the Council on recent developments. Me honra estar una vez más en compañía del consejero presidencial para la estabilización y consolidación, Emilio Archila, a quien le agradezco por su constante apoyo al trabajo de la Misión de Naciones Unidas. Me complace igualmente contar con la presencia de Luz Marina Giraldo, una destacada lideresa en proceso de reincorporación, quien lamentablemente perdió a su esposo, también excombatiente, por causa de la violencia en 2019. Ella es un claro ejemplo de la reincorporación económica, social y política, y es importante tenerla el día de hoy en el Consejo. Madam President, distinguished members of the Council, as highlighted in the report of the Secretary General, the 5th anniversary of the final peace agreement provided an opportunity to celebrate its achievements, to acknowledge the persistent challenges, and to recommit to its comprehensive implementation. The visit of the Secretary General reaffirmed the commitment of the United Nations to the success of the peace process, for which the support of this Council has been clearly instrumental. Madam President, it is important to carry this momentum forward into a key year that holds new opportunities to consolidate peace. In March, Colombians will cast their votes for a Congress that will be, for the first time, including representatives from the 16 special transitional electoral districts for peace. More than 400 candidates are running to make the voices of regions historically affected by poverty and conflict heard. All of them are recognized as victims of the conflict. Half of them are women, and many of them are indigenous and Afro-Colombians. This is an historic opportunity envisioned in the agreement that must be protected in order to widen Colombia's democracy. While political parties and organizations move forward with their campaigns, authorities are taking steps to ensure peaceful and participatory elections. In late December, the government informed its strategies to ensure the security of the more than 2,800 candidates running overall in these elections, as well as the general conditions for Colombians to take part in the election. An enhanced implementation of the security guarantees provisions of the agreement is critical for these elections, especially in regions prioritized for implementation, which regrettably continue to be hit by violence. For example, the comprehensive security system for the exercise of politics should be put into action in order to protect parties and movements across the spectrum. Ensuring security and protection for all candidates is essential, in particular for those running for the special electoral district that I mentioned. We trust that all political actors will conduct their campaigns in an environment of respect. I take this opportunity to invite them once more to engage in initiatives promoting nonviolence and non-stigmatization in the electoral process. I am glad to report that the National Council for Peace, comprised of government and state institutions, as well as civil society representatives, has recently launched the much-needed policy on reconciliation, coexistence, and non-stigmatization provided for in the agreement. I trust that this policy, which can contribute to non-repetition and the reconstruction of social fabric, will be adopted and implemented swiftly. Madam President, distinguished members of the Council, political reintegration is at the core of the peace process. As voters, party members, local office holders, or members of Congress, men and women who have laid down their arms are now active participants of Colombian democracy. The upcoming congressional elections will be yet another opportunity. I call on the authorities to ensure their political rights and their protection, especially in light of persisting insecurity and stigmatization. During the past 5 years, the socioeconomic reintegration of the more than 13,000 accredited former combatants has also advanced through a myriad of initiatives. With support from the private sector and the international community, government entities have played a major role through the provision of financial and technical assistance for productive initiatives. For former combatants settled in both the original and the new reintegration areas, access to land and housing needs to be accelerated so that their efforts can prosper, including their joint work with host communities that is so important for a long-term reconciliation is of the essence. Madam President, we must remain vigilant and focus on the threats still facing ex-combatants. While I acknowledge a reduction in the number of killings compared to the previous year, every single death is a blow to peace, and every effort needs to be taken to protect every one of them. This means enhancing their individual security as well as securing, in a broader sense, conflict-affected areas where illegal armed actors continue to take advantage of the limited presence of the states in parts of the country. The recent transfer of the former territorial area for training and reintegration of La Macarena as a consequence of the deplorable actions of illegal armed actors illustrates these points. Initiatives undertaken by former combatants and host communities are being targeted by illegal armed actors who view the agreement's implementation as a threat to their illicit interest. The goal must be to prevent the need for anyone to relocate due to violence. Nevertheless, joint efforts of the government, former combatants, local authorities, state entities, and the international community were instrumental to allow former combatants from La Macarena to finally move without more severe consequences. Such efforts will remain indispensable to guarantee that they can continue pursuing their reintegration with dignity in the new area. I trust that such collaboration will also lead to progress in the relocation of other reintegration areas facing similar risks, and that authorities will guarantee security for the communities that are left behind. I also call for greater support for the surviving families of the hundreds of former combatants killed. During his visit to Colombia, the Secretary General expressed his condolences to Luz Marina, who through her foundation, Sin Olvido, works for the rights of partners, sons, and daughters of slain former FARC-EP members during the reintegration process. Señora Presidenta, miembros del Consejo, las acciones de grupos armados ilegales y de organizaciones criminales continúan sintiéndose en diferentes regiones, especialmente en aquellas priorizadas para la implementación del Acuerdo de Paz. Recientemente, la situación de seguridad en el departamento de Arauca se agravó sensiblemente como producto de acciones del Ejército de Liberación Nacional y grupos disidentes de las FARC-EP, afectando a las comunidades locales y a los excombatientes que residen en la zona. Así como el ejemplo de la Macarena, esta es otra muestra de la urgencia de fortalecer la presencia integral del Estado. Asimismo, es imprescindible la aprobación e implementación de la tan esperada política de desmantelamiento de los grupos ilegales. Entre ayer y hoy se registraron dos nuevos hechos violentos: un carro bomba en Arauca y un ataque contra una patrulla militar en Antioquia. Condeno, una vez más, las acciones de actores armados ilegales en contra de las comunidades, las instituciones civiles y la fuerza pública. Y renuevo el llamado a que se respeten los principios humanitarios. Hechos como el reciente asesinato de Breiner Cucuñame, un menor indígena ambientalista, miembro de la Guardia Indígena del Cauca, debe llamar a actuar colectivamente para detener esta violencia sin sentido. Este llamado tiene una particular relevancia en un año en el que el país enfrenta el reto de llevar a cabo elecciones pacíficas y participativas. Hay que decirlo de manera muy clara. El espíritu del acuerdo final de paz es precisamente que no puede haber en la Colombia de hoy ninguna justificación para la violencia, como tampoco alternativa alguna al diálogo para resolver los conflictos. Madam President, 2022 will also be a critical year for the transitional justice system created by the peace agreement. The Unit for the Search of Persons Deemed Missing continues the overwhelming task of finding thousands of persons disappeared during the conflict, thanks mainly to information provided by actors who took part in the conflict. The Truth Commission is preparing to deliver its final report, which Colombian society can use to collectively reflect on its past and spare future generations from violence. In turn, the work of the Special Jurisdiction for Peace is advancing with a view to ensuring that victims' rights are upheld through the contributions of those who took part in the conflict. The SJP is expected to issue its first sentences later this year. As that moment approaches, the mission continues to prepare its verifications of restorative sentences in line with the mandate entrusted by the Security Council. I thank the SJP and the government for their constructive cooperation to prepare for the successful implementation of this key part of the process. The backing of the Security Council for the transitional justice system remains as important as ever. Madam President, members of the Council, as the Secretary General pointed out during his visits, 5 years into its implementation, the peace agreement is setting down ever deeper roots. The period ahead will be crucial for the parties and Colombian society to redouble efforts and continue following this roadmap for healing the wounds of conflict and overcoming its causes. I thank you, Madam President.